Call to order City of Trinidad Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission regular meeting, October 12th, City Council Chambers, City Hall, Trinidad, Colorado. Roll call.
This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry. Okay. Armijo? Present. Coker? Dalton? Moderano? Here. Norris?
Present.
Spain? Leone?
Yes, here. Public comments on any issues not listed on the agenda. We have a few people here tonight that want to come forward. I'm assuming that they've read what's on the agenda and they have other issues. So for the first one, I think I'll call Danelle Roll. If you want to introduce yourself, give us a little bit of information.
My name is Danielle Rollo. I am a real estate broker with Southern Colorado Realty. I've been selling real estate here for 27 years. And it's come to my attention recently that there is a push to change our zoning. And
Talk to us a little bit louder.
it's come to my attention that there is a push
So
to
I
change
cut
our
the water,
zoning.
and just all my strength, I can't get it to budge, so I'm not sure what to do.
Do I keep talking?
Might not have letters right now.
Who's
I don't know.
Sky? Let's see. Sky's, I think Sky's on. Sky, you're there, right? Sky?
Oh yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
So I have some concerns about it. I've looked through some packets that have been put out by Sky Tallman, and I'm not claiming to be an expert in city planning, just a simple real estate lady that sells and works with people every day. I manage 170 rental units. I'm invested in the community. I work every day with people renting, purchasing, and I do not see this call for that we have a housing crisis. I don't see it. I don't see it in the numbers, which Jared Tortorelli has the numbers with him. But I just wanted to just voice a concern and say I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to learn. But so far, everything I've been researching about those changes doesn't seem good for our community. I feel like Article 14 was put in place to protect our community, to protect people that buy in single-family residential neighborhood. They expect it to be a single-family residential neighborhood. So far, I haven't seen anything that says it makes sense to me. We do not have a crisis. So that's all I wanted to say. Jared has some more information.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to say is they're saying this, we have a crisis, we have a crisis, we have a crisis. Nobody, not one city council person, nobody from planning and zoning has ever reached out to my office to say, give me some numbers. What are you seeing? What are you seeing on the streets? Nobody. It's just everybody keeps saying we have this crisis. So Jared and I sat down today and went through some of these numbers, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to find out it's really not a crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Prue. Jared, you want to come up? Can you introduce yourself to this commission?
Jared Tortorelli, I'm the owner broker of TLC Real Estate Services. I'm not totally up to par on some of this, so what I have read today, I just wanted to visit with you guys a little bit for maybe some education on your part and education on our part. But looking at the email that Sky sent us back in July about this remodification of this Article 14 in your all's deal, appears to me that the definition of affordable housing to the general public is different than the definition that he's shooting for. It appears to me that he's shooting for affordable housing, meaning low income, Section 8, multiple housing type stuff. And I think that's maybe where they're talking there's a housing shortage in that. As Danielle was putting forth, we're a little short on inventory. markets kind of bear that. Sometimes we're short, builders come in, they build, then we're on top. The market defines itself at that point when we're talking about medium $200,000-$300,000 houses, 100 and above. It appears to me that the city's point here is to try to modify zoning so it's going to be quicker and easier to put multifamily, low-income housing in place everywhere. And in order to protect our current citizens, our current values, I'm also an appraiser, have been for over 20 years. It's unfair to the citizens that they talk about these infill lots. So you have a house, and this one's empty in between. Let's just shove a fourplex in there and put low income. And I'm not against low income, don't get me wrong. I think the planning of that doesn't need to be scattered all over Trinidad. I think the planning of that needs to be strategic, but not scattered all over Trinidad, and rework our whole article to just make it easy for everybody to put high-density residential fourplexes, apartment buildings, anywhere they see fit. I don't think that's good planning at all. So I'm up here to kind of voice that opinion. Yes, if there is an affordable housing shortage, as I think the city's definition of the affordable is different than what the general public. Affordable to the most general public is going to be, hey, anything under 350 is going to be affordable at this point. I'm not opposed to revamping our zoning. And at one time, we had a city planner in here that was looking at a master plan to rezone all of Trinidad. And as our city planners change, everything changes. But I think that still needs to continue, that master plan of the rezoning of Trinidad, and that needs to be thought out process, not just to scatter everywhere, any little nook and cranny we can shove a fourplex, a eightplex, whatever. I don't think it's fair to the citizens that are here in Trinidad. I don't think it's fair to the values of that. So I'm just here to kind of express that to you all. They're going to come to you all first on that. But to revamp this, I printed this Article 14 out today. Have you read that thing?
Not all of it.
No, there is. You'll be there for a week or better. And so that's just a. I don't think that's a one-size-fits-all type deal. I think this is back to a master plan. Look at Trinidad zoning. Look at our uses. Look at future planning of where we want Trinidad to go, where you all want Trinidad to go, where the growth needs to be, and zone accordingly, but not just scatter all over. It's just not. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to our citizens. Doesn't make sense to our values, and it doesn't make sense It doesn't make sense. So I don't know. That is the take I've got of what I have read. Again, I haven't read the full. I mean, you would be there for a long time, and I will continue to read that. But so that I'm just up here to put that forethought in your all's hands, because they're going to come to you first and kind of go from there. But this push, I think the definition of affordable housing pretty much needs to be defined, because when you hear affordable housing, yeah, I agree. We all want affordable housing. The definition that I think is being focused on here is the lower end of stuff. The other thing that I would like to progress is markets find their own balances. So when we're short, they will find their own balances. That's just basic stuff in economics, macro economics. It's basic. If we're short of something, the supply will meet the demand as it happens. You're in the concrete business. If there 3 or 4 competitors, they're all gonna be fairly close. If there's just one, it's a whole different story. It appears to me that the city of Trinidad is getting in the real estate business when they really probably shouldn't. The market should be defining themselves. And then I'm gonna throw a little complaint in here, and I don't know the backstory to this, but some of the stuff that the city of Trinidad has done, and I'm gonna bring up an example, is the space to create new apartment building that is on Elm Street there. Whether you all know this or whether the public knows this or not, the city of Trinidad, or the Housing Authority of Trinidad, owns 1% of that. That takes that building to tax exempt. That building pays $0 in taxes. So anything that's got the city of Trinidad's name on it goes $0 in taxes. What benefit did that do to the city of Trinidad? What benefit did that do to our citizens where that building is not paying? So, that being said, I'd like to donate 1% of my building to the city of Trinidad, so I don't have to pay taxes either.
Not a bad idea.
So,
Isn't that an issue that you should take up with council?
it was just a forethought in your all's thought process through this. So, that's,
What, are you done?
I am.
Before you leave, it's people like you, and Danielle has been up here so far, they need to come before this board. You're out there in the public, you can bring numbers like you did tonight. To every one of us, I'm talking for myself, but I think every one of us got surprised here a little bit of some of the things that you said. And if you come, we always have a meeting, you're always open, you're always willing to talk, we'll always let you talk.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Guys, thank you.
Mr. Zuich?
I'm gonna pass these out so I can just kind of blaze through it. Not take any more time than necessary. And do things go to council from this meeting, I imagine? Do they get any sort of
No, I
minutes
can
or
give it to
anything?
Audra.
I've got copies.
Okay, I can give this to Audra for council's minutes.
And then I'll leave a few here if anyone's interested.
Even though we got this paper, kind of introduce yourself.
Yep. My name's Dave Zuick, and my profession is real estate, and I specialized in residential real estate sales, mainly within the city limits of Trinidad. The next statement, just to show some experience, I'm braggadocio. Over decades, I've sold hundreds of homes within the city limits, and thus have a pretty good handle on what people moving into our community are desirable of finding. Nobody wants to see Trinidad grow and prosper and move forward in a positive direction more than myself. A little over a month ago, I spent a good amount of time visiting with our new city planner, Sky Tallman, and got some of his thoughts on what direction he felt might be best for our city to consider moving in. Regarding Sky wanting to change Article 14, thus city ordinance change, 14 includes minimum lot sizes, setbacks, and many other things. My impression after talking was that he wants currently LDR, low density residential neighborhoods, to be available to developers to build high density housing units, in other words duplex, fourplex, possibly even larger apartment style complexes within LDR neighborhoods. These are the infill lots that Jared was mentioning. These are, if a home on a non-conforming lot would burn to the ground and it's sitting on 3,000 square feet, and all of a sudden what do we do when the ordinance calls for 6,000 square feet? So, there's always room for improvement to anything, again, like Jared mentioned. So those things have to be considered. We were selling a lot, and something happened with somebody trying to finance one of these homes on a non-conforming lot. It was kind of a stumbling block, and we'd be trying to get a letter from the city saying, and things may have changed, Danielle and Jared could tell you, some lenders, we needed to get them information saying that the city would allow them to rebuild on the same footprint in order for them to finance. Because a bank didn't want to have a loan on something that burnt to the ground, and then they couldn't even rebuild. They were just stuck with an empty lot. So there's got to be something that can be done with these lots, but that's for consideration. To take it a step farther, it sounded like parking was something that should be compromised in order to allow the multi-unit to be built. In other words, not require that multi-unit units have enough property to provide off-street parking for its residents. There are a number of existing apartment complexes in town. They all were or are or did create a parking space so that those people in those sixplexes could park off the street and not hinder the neighbors in the area. You throw that out the window and that's a dozen cars trying to fit on the streets that are already pretty jammed. I can attest that when pulling up and showing a home to a buyer, that they are looking just as hard at the neighborhood and adjoining properties to determine if they want to consider purchasing. And a multi-unit housing located nearby would not be a plus for me trying to sell that single-family home. Thus, the value of that single-family home is pushed down. We have a process that allows for vacates, the vacate process, and change of ordinance, or tweaking of ordinance on an individual basis. If the planning commission, owners adjoining the property, and ultimately council feel that such a change will benefit the neighborhood. When property in close proximity is devaluated, it is not a positive direction. My point is that the makeup of long-established attractive neighborhoods should not be changed by the city unless it's desirable by that neighborhood and the process is already in place for that to take place. Regarding city ordinance changes and the survey for such that recently went out in city utility bills, it initially sounded like a great way to reach out to the public. Once it showed up, I realized there would be a large number of residents that would toss this note in the trash. And it's hard to have someone's opening their utility bill and that's what they're looking at. And so they've got a little flyer in there and, what heading are we going to put on there that's going to really grab their attention to read it? When what they're most interested in is what their bill was for that month. Some will, a lot won't. One reason for this getting overlooked is the fact that since they're paying the bill, it removes them from being concerned about a housing shortage. They've got a utility bill, they're living in a house. Case in point is my next door neighbors who are retired public school administrators and principal. They have a vested interest in Trinidad as homeowners. When I mentioned to them about seeing the survey, they dug it out of the trash because they had tossed it without reading it. So these are well-educated, young, people. They would be able and will fill out the survey online, but a big percentage of recipients, especially the elderly, will not. They'll never have a clue of what this is about, etc. This survey should not be used, like it says in what has been posted online, to guide the city's effort. It makes it sound like the survey is the tool that is going to guide the city's determinations. And it's not the tool in making determinations, not fair. Shouldn't be allowed to happen, as the survey will not result in a fair amount of well-informed City of Trinidad resident feedback. It can, however, get feedback from people that do not even reside in Trinidad, as the survey has been posted on Facebook by city administrators as well as private parties. In fact, my daughter in Montana filled out and submitted the survey this morning, because there's nothing that keeps anybody anywhere from filling out and simply stating they're a resident of Trinidad. This is just too big of an issue to address without knowing you have given the residents a real opportunity to be heard from. I'm going to limit myself to these two concerns today about the direction the city of Trinidad is going and now contemplating. I will say that the so-called housing shortage is something I've heard about for over 20 years now from people moving into Trinidad. It's nothing new, and we've gotten through it before. I've showed people homes when they came in, and they'd look at me and say, "Is this all you've got to show me?" I mean, that's been going on forever. We've never had a smorgasbord for people to choose from. Positive results from that situation have been blighted neighborhoods being brought up into better condition. You know, when there is a little bit of shortage, they buy the old stuff and fix it. New attractive neighborhoods have been developed. You know, the Reserve, Fisher's Peak, Trinidad Heights, down east, Shreppers. I don't believe it's true that there are no affordable homes to rent or buy in Trinidad and no affordable property to buy and build on. And reiterating what Jared had to say, there is some inventory. I'm glad to discuss this further with anybody that wants to reach out to me regarding this or other topics. I hope that the current and future city council members will consider that their actions today do determine where this city will be in 25 years. And remember that their personal interests should not take priority over those of the residents they represent. My biggest concern after living in Trinidad for 54 of my 62 years is will the decisions that are taking place today result in our city and community being most attractive to responsible individuals and families, or not so much. Responsible individuals, that can be widely defined. But one thing I can say for certain, when I put a house up for rent and tell people that I need the first month's rent, the last month's rent, and the deposit is $150 more than the rent, and our rentals are not top dollar. They range from $700 to $1,000. And but that's still a chunk of $2,500, $3,000 to come up with. But I've had couples that worked at Walmart rent from me because they knew how to manage their money. So it's not about how much you make, it's about how you manage what you make. I have nothing against people who don't make a ton of money. That's the people I rent to. But there are people that know how to manage their money. We want to reach out and bring in responsible individuals because they like what they see in this community and are willing to move here down the road. And if we cater to people that are not responsible and just try to take care of those needs and lose track of helping people that are, then that's the direction we'll go. And I just feel we'll suffer for it. So, that's it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zuish. Thank you very much.
Council can get copies of those, that'd be great.
You enunciate that to staff, or enunciate that to city council?
Yeah, I'll make sure council, I'll check answers for council.
Anybody else in the audience? Has anybody else to say, see anything else to say as far as something that's not on the agenda? If not, we'll move on. Public hearing.
Did you do minutes? Minutes?
A, we're gonna go to A. Before we do that, members up here, we're gonna eliminate E and F tonight on our agenda.
Yeah, we got an abridged one.
Okay, so bring that forward. Castellano, Lawrence, and Geraldine, 2021 LLE 12, modification of existing plot conveyance of public road to the city of Trinidad, location at 127 Saddle Road, Trinidad, Colorado. Legal description, annexation 24-33-64, part of southwest, southeast, continuous 1.03 acres, more or less annexation, parcel 127-87500. Somebody here to come forward. Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Geraldine Castellano.
A little bit louder.
I'm Geraldine Castellano.
Larry Castellano.
Okay.
Lawrence.
We got this in front of us here. You want to give us a little bit of information?
Yeah, a year ago, we applied for a permit and we found out we needed our land to be plotted, which had never been done evidently at any time. And we've gone through a few ringers here. So what we did, we had the surveyor tell us that Mr. Terry, that 25 feet of our property was actually the street. And so came to talk to Mr. Valentine and to Georgie at the time that when she was working here. And we didn't even know that was happening to our property, that we had 25 feet in the street. So in order to get a permit, we had to redo the whole thing. So, and we did this, we gave the city 25 feet of our property. So we can get a permit for B, a carport. Just a carport. We're going to fix it up and we're not going to do anything to our property that'll devalue it in any way. We just need a carport, but they won't let us have it unless it's because it's a 312 pitch, and that's all we can afford, so that's why we're here.
Staff.
Sky?
Right. So, thank you. The staff report, we broke this into two items. One is for the minor plat and the other is for the variance. Looking at the minor plat staff report first, the applicants are trying to plat their property as they explained. The property is previously unplatted and the survey revealed that it had been that the Saddle Road had been built over a portion of the property line. For that reason, the Castellanos had vacated a part of their property to the city, and now they are going through with the platting in order to pave the way for developing the rest of the property. The platting here looks fairly straightforward. And the staff recommendation is for approval of the plat.
Anything else from staff?
I think that's it.
Well, I think we're going to handle this one item at a time and have the hearing on the plat and then have the hearing on the variance. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, this qualifies as a minor subdivision plat, which is makes it a fairly simple process, and yeah, they meet all the criteria. There's no issues really came up, or no reason to add conditions to the plat approval.
Do you have anything else you want to say, according?
Well, I didn't know where it goes. We only have 1.03 acres of land now, because it was an acre and a half, so to take 25 feet, I don't think it's a whole half acre, is it? I don't think so. I didn't look at the map. Mr. Terry never called me and
Does it show that on their survey?
We have copies, don't we?
Why are they conveying property to the city? Is that for a road, for access way, for an easement?
Yes.
Is it for an easement?
It's because the road already existed, but the property had never been platted. So when the Saddle Road was built, it covered part of the property line. And that was sort of discovered in the process of platting.
That happens quite a few places here in Trinidad.
I didn't hear what you said just now.
I said that happens quite a few places here in Trinidad since I've been on this commission. We've had a few of them.
Okay.
It should be one of the exhibits.
I didn't get any exhibits for
The exhibits,
the applications, I got none there.
they're in a folder on the drive in a different location. They used to always be in our staff report, so we would just, all
Yeah,
the
they're all
attachments were there,
attached
so it's
together.
always like really
I
easy.
realize it.
Yeah.
I realize that. I don't
It's a
have the
good way,
PDF
yeah.
to do that
But,
yet.
Here's this one.
There's some of this that some of us didn't get. We've got some new staff members, and it takes a lot of time to get everything right, and they're doing a good job. But sometimes it's something we didn't get or we got late. What I want to do, as long as we're on this, I want to go back to page 3 on the variance. And I want
Right now we're not on the variance, we're just on the plating.
Okay, all right,
So the hearing is open on the plating, but we haven't addressed the variance yet.
okay. Anything else you want to say?
So,
So we're not here on the hearing on
No,
that?
we're doing,
We're doing two of them.
we're gonna do two things.
Doing the planning first.
Okay,
we're just doing one after the other.
Yeah.
okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
Well, I
Ready?
thank you guys for
Okay.
letting us be here.
Okay, you can either stay there, you can sit down, and we'll call you up again, whatever your preference to you.
Okay. We'll see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here in the audience that is for or against this particular plotting? If so, come forward. If not, commissioners, questions?
Do you want to close the hearing?
None?
Well,
Tony?
if I have questions about general plating, should we close the meeting, or do I ask it first?
You can ask. Yeah, you can ask.
Okay, so we're going through this process. Was the property not annexed? Was it not in this city property? Was it not annexed? Is it being annexed, or I'm trying to get
It's
what?
city.
It's
in
city
the
property.
city.
Okay, so we're just.
In other words, what they're doing is they're giving the city that piece of property
Okay.
in order to get their variance, okay? And if I'm mistaken, Sky, you can correct me. So, in order to do what they have to do and keep their property the way that they have to keep it, they have to do that to the city of Trinidad, which they want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so all property in the city that gets developed has to be platted.
Okay.
So it should have probably been platted before they built their house, but somehow that slipped through the cracks. And now, it was observed, or it was noticed, this was before I came on with the city, that the property had not been platted. And so that process was begun in order to allow them to then pour their foundation for their carport and to develop their carport.
Okay. And the process.
But planning is a necessary process for any sort of development, really, on any property in the city. And this hadn't been done because that usually happens right before land gets developed, or when it's subdivided and sold as a subdivision.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions, Tony?
They're willing to, that street, they would never move it anyhow, would they?
if they didn't want to give it to them. Saddle Road is going right on their property, right? So if they didn't want to, if they didn't want to, you can't force them to give it to you, but they're willing to give it to you.
Right.
So I
That's
don't see
correct.
anything wrong with that.
Nothing?
Okay. Okay.
I have nothing either. I think most of this is straightforward as far as the plotting. And so, staff report?
You want to call for a motion?
Yeah.
No, there's nothing else.
No staff report?
Well, we've already gone through that for the plating. So you probably want to close the hearing for the plating and vote on that, and then open up the hearing for the variance. And then we'll go through the staff report for the variance.
Okay, close the hearing on that. Open up the hearing on the variance.
No, let's vote. We'll call for a motion on this one.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pass.
Do I have a second?
The plan.
Motion made, second, roll call.
Bermejo? Yes. Marrano?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes. Open up the hearing on the variance. Okay. Lawrence and Geraldine Castellano, applications for a variance to allow a reduction in roof pitch of a carport at 127 Saddle Road, Trinidad, Colorado. Legal description, annexation, 24-33-64, park of southwest, southeast, continuance, 1.03 acres, more or less. Lennox addition, partial 12787,500. You want to come forward again? Anything else that you want to tell us regarding the variance?
Well, we just wanted to know if we can have, it's the carport is a 312 pitch. And we wanted to, we're complying with everything, we go for the permits. We're not trying to fool anybody by what we're doing. And we can't get a permit unless we can't get a permit. Because of the 312 pitch.
The 312, that's all that they make, that Eagle Carport.
What is it rated snow?
Have you read that in your packet?
About the 312?
312?
Do you want to let Sky do the staff report?
Yes.
Castellanos, are you done? Did you have anything else to say?
Is it what?
Do we have anything else to say about the variance?
Okay. So I'll go through the staff report here with you guys. I did update the staff report that was uploaded on your share drive earlier today. So if I say something that you didn't see earlier, then that's been updated just to a more recent version. So there may be a few slight changes from what you saw if you looked yesterday or early this morning. So Geraldine and Lawrence Castellano, they're applying for a variance to install a carport on their property at 127 Saddle Road. This variance is required because they were unable to find a carport meeting the 612 roof requirement. The pitch on their carport, it's looks like it's a little over 312, about 3.7512 as I calculated it. When building the concrete pad for the carport, and that's already built, that was there on a foundation only permit. The applicant did not do locates for utilities, and the pad is built over a city-maintained electrical line. The city asks that as a condition of this permit, the applicant agree to rewire the line should that ever need to happen. So if that line needs maintenance or if it needs to be dug up for some reason, the city's asking for the applicant to take responsibility for that because it now goes underneath the foundation. Nearby land uses, this property is zoned residential estate. Nearby, there are community commercial, medium density residential, and other residential estate. As we look at the land use in the area, there are houses on Saddle Road that have less than a 612 roof pitch. So this carport wouldn't be alone in having a lower pitch in the neighborhood. So the staff recommendation on this is to approve it conditionally, with the condition that the Castellanos agree to bear the responsibility of moving the line that goes underneath the carport, should that ever need to happen.
We understand that, because when we applied for the permit, they didn't tell us, we showed them where we wanted it and stuff, and they told us to go ahead and do it.
Sometimes most of the time it's up to the contractor to do that, to find your variance, because you're lucky that maybe it wasn't a high tension line and somebody would have hit it in the process of digging for your footer or your slab. That's something that, that's why you go ahead and get them.
Well, we found out a lot of things, okay?
Yeah, I know.
A lot of things. If I could write a book, I would, okay?
And then what I want before we do this, I want to go in Exhibit A, and there's two different things there. It says prefabricated garage. I wanted to make sure it's prefabricated carport.
Yeah,
It's in two different places on my paperwork here. I want that to say prefabricated carport, not garage.
In the staff report?
Yes. And
Okay,
then,
that's been noted, thank you.
and then if you go to that Exhibition A, and I'm just trying to get you so you don't have to come back again.
Thank you.
And under A, I had it marked here, it says what you're going to be using it for. It says residential.
Yes.
It's supposed to be residential carport, I'm thinking. Is that correct? It's filled in residential on both sides of that particular. That's something else that can come back and haunt us. The board and you. That's two things that I want to bring up. Anybody else here want to ask them any questions? You can sit down if you want.
Thank you.
Staff?
Thank you.
Nothing?
My only question would be, is the 312, is that rated, does that have a snow load that we need for Trinidad? I mean, we don't have a lot of snow load, but did they say anything about snow figures and that?
I don't think it had a snow load or a wind
Yeah.
on it. It's comes from Eagle Carports. I read through it. I didn't see anything on it. Planning and Zoning Director, did you see anything on it, Sky?
I didn't see anything specifically about snow loads for the carport.
I did not either.
Let me see if I can look in the drive and see if that's there.
There's a disclaimer.
Okay.
If the building does not meet proper compliance and verification for wind or snow rating, your request will be screened by our team and you will be made aware of the necessary changes.
That still doesn't tell us anything.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
That doesn't tell us anything at all.
doesn't. So it,
Did you tell the folks at Eagle that where you lived and how much snow there was? I mean, they know you're in Colorado, right? That's first off, okay, that's good.
Well,
Okay.
there's a garage that was built by Eagle, and the gentleman that has it owns a glass company.
Does he do Eagle as well? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's got a garage that's the same pitch.
Okay.
There's a few of them.
Okay, good, okay. I just would hate to see your crunch. Okay.
Nothing more from staff?
That's all I got.
Anyone here that wants to speak for or against this particular variance? not, I'll close the hearing. Commissioners, discussion.
My one thought is that that condition of them being responsible for the entire rerouting of the electric line, that seems unfair to me. I mean, I think we ought to cap that or put a disclaimer that, you know, I mean, I don't know, something, but I don't feel good about making them responsible for that entire
Rerouting line.
value, yeah.
Is there any kind of a, staff, is there any kind of a number as far as dollar-wise, what that would cost?
We'd have to get with our director.
Well, that would be hard to say because, I mean, we could give an estimate for what it would cost to do it today, but if it didn't break for 10 years and then it needed to be serviced, that dollar amount probably wouldn't mean a whole lot.
So I have a follow-up question then. If they sell this property, who's then responsible to reroute this wire if something happens?
Good one.
Staff?
I couldn't quite hear the question.
If the property is sold, who then is responsible for that particular line?
It's a condition that should stay with the property, though I'm not sure the mechanism for how that would happen. So in our staff review, our recommendation was, our consensus was amongst the departments that we should require them to take responsibility for it if it needs to be serviced.
I think that,
if and when that comes up.
that's what should be done, because if not, then you're setting a precedent for somebody that's going to come for us again on another issue. Just
right,
like
and
if you set
what in the city's like, well, do we bust through the foundation to get to the line? If it's
Right.
if that's what we want to do, that's probably not too realistic, but it does create an extra expense for what would be otherwise routine maintenance.
But I'm assuming the line can be taken out on each side and then rerouted. That's basically what the staff is saying, ain't it? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't think that you can take that away.
Okay.
For that simple reason that then you're setting a precedence for somebody else to come in and build something and say, oh, I didn't know it was there, even though they didn't know it was there. And they'll be coming before us again. That's my individual thought. Tony?
On a carport, does the code actually call for a 612?
Yes.
Yes.
It does?
Yeah.
It's supposed to match the house, and the house is 612. So that's.
They just built their house.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is that I've seen in the past, we built carports just with a flat roof sliding down.
Yeah.
And the house might have had a 412 or a 512, but they put in a carport. What I don't understand is
This is not attached.
it's not attached.
It's not attached.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We've built a lot of carports without any pitch at
This
all.
is a prefab one that came in, and they already had it built, and they couldn't get one from the company at that time there, I guess.
Well, that
other than
company
they had
that
it
they're
built
talking
already.
about, they don't make a 612.
Right.
Yeah.
We tried it to different companies, and a lot of them said they don't do a 612.
That's right. They don't do them.
No, and that put us in a predicament in a sense.
And I've built a few carports, and they've had 512, 612, but nobody's ever asked us to do the same for the carport at the house. I've never had that happen to me before. And maybe there was something that the building inspector didn't catch, or I don't know. But we've used flat roofs, just slat it to the back, put the carport right underneath, that car go right underneath. So,
Any other questions? Mr. Emile? Close the hearing. Need a motion?
I'll move it. Go ahead and do it.
Motion to approve with conditions?
Yes. I have a motion from Mr. Marano. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Armijo. With staff recommendations, correct?
Staff recommendations.
Roll call.
Armijo?
Yes.
Marano?
Yes.
Norris?
No, I disagree with the conditions.
Leon?
Yes. Okay.
Thank
Put
you.
your carport up.
Thank you.
With the permit.
Thank you, thank you,
With the
thank you.
permit, that's
Yeah.
what we do.
And don't break, then don't cut that line.
No.
I promise we
We
will.
don't-
We're not gonna move.
Okay.
We ain't moving anymore, okay? We've had our hands filled.
I hear y'all now.
You could stop by tomorrow if you'd like, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome,
God
Norris.
bless.
Moving on. Scotty Zenich, Enterprises LLC, 2021 LLE-13, modification in existing plat for location of 1986-2000 Santa Fe Trail, Trinidad, Colorado. 810T.
Allison, I'm on.
What?
No, he was just saying that he's on the application.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
legal description, 24-33-64, part of southwest, southeast. Being 215 feet times 277 feet, AKA 1.03 acres, more or less. Partial, 1210000. Legal description, 24-33-64, part of southwest 4, southwest 4, southeast 4. Continuation of 1.79 acres, partial, 12425,000. Staff.
Sky?
Sky.
Sorry, I had to unmute here. So Scott Zetchis is applying to plat the properties. They have been previously unplatted at 1986 and 2000 Santa Fe Trail. He owns both properties. The platting is necessary at this point because he is wanting to apply for a liquor license for his business, and he has plans to build another structure on the 2000 Santa Fe Trail. Both of those will require the property to be platted, and it's in the interest of the city to have all of our property platted. As we look through this application, it is fairly straightforward. The zoning here, the one where Bomb Pizza is, 2000 Santa Fe Trail, is zoned community commercial. The other one is currently zoned medium density residential. This application is in conjunction with another application to rezone the adjacent property also to community commercial. So we'll come to that next. We find that the application here aligns with goals in our comprehensive plan, which include the expansion of businesses such as those serving liquor within the city. And this replatting this property or platting this property is going to help further the goals of the applicant to develop and expand his business. One note that came up in staff review was that utilities are identified on the plat map, and there are some utility mains crossing the property, and those are not marked as easements on the plat map. but they are prescriptive easements. So we would just, the staff would recommend approval with the condition that Scott acknowledge the prescriptive easements that already exist on the property, because they are not depicted on the plat map, and that's 10 feet on either side of the utility mains that cross the property.
Is that all, staff? In the hearing, so I'm assuming that we have somebody online to represent, and will you tell us a little bit about this planning that you want to do?
Yes, thank you. I'm Scott Zeaches, the owner of the property. The easements that Sky just mentioned, while I know of those, this is the first time I've heard it brought up to be a condition of approval. I guess my first response is that might be unfair that I didn't know about this ahead of time.
Talk a little bit louder, please.
But notwithstanding, as Sky said, the interest that I have, the properties were not platted. Sometime after I purchased the properties, it was asked by the city clerk that I plat the land. I think much to my chagrin as well as that of the cities, it's taken almost 2 years, but I'm happy to say that we're here today to get this done. Again, because it was not done previously, or there's no records of it, so that fits the request for the platting of the land. As far as the second lot to the north, known as 1986 Santa Fe Trail, while I guess I would say at this point in the game, my interest is to make it zoned community commercial, as is the adjoining property 2000 Santa Fe Trail, and that appears to fit the city's planning for various properties on Santa Fe Trail, as well as future interests that I may have.
Anything else?
At this time, that's all I have.
Staff report? No, nothing?
No, Sky.
Questions? Mr. Norris?
I can't really think of any. I think the prescriptive easement is something that's in there, whether it's attached or not, and us just bringing it up at this point is a formality. So I think it's pretty straightforward.
Mr. Monterano?
The little station that was there before, you remember that building that was there before? Was that never plotted, or was that out of the city, or what was the deal?
I don't have any idea.
I don't think it was ever platted. It was never platted.
It was never plotted? Because right behind him, that's where Mr. Gutierrez had his property. And
that house is still there.
Yeah, and to the north, going towards the city.
Going towards the north.
No,
that's kind of a funny deal there, because the person that has a house on Saddle Road.
Yeah,
That's my son, who has that house, and half of his property is in the city, and half is in the county.
Oh. The backside.
Yes.
Huh? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. His barn is in the county.
Now, is that the backside of it?
The barn.
Yeah,
The house is in the city.
Yeah.
Barn is in the county.
That whole arroyo that goes down into the back, down in that Mr. the guy that had the Crawford Motel, remember that little guy that he wanted to build a trailer park or something down there? That was all in the county then?
I don't know.
I mean, how could part of that be in the county and part of it?
Well, we ain't talking about that right now, so.
I know, but
That's another, that comes up at another time.
maybe that's.
Gotta stick to the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Armijo.
Do you know where we're talking about? That,
I do for sure.
yeah.
I guess the question I have is if this were to be approved, that Scott is comfortable with the conditions even though he just found out about them?
Are you comfortable with your conditions that has been presented to you by the staff and City of Trinidad as far as you shall acknowledge existing perceptive utility right-of-ways, not specifically just in your...
Not right-of-ways, easements, prescriptive easements.
Right. You're all right with that?
I'm sorry, I want to make sure that the question was directed to myself as the property owner.
It was directed to you.
Okay. Sky, can you further help me with the definition? Are you talking about the easements that are in the southwest corner of the property, which is the intersection of Saddle Road and Santa Fe Trail?
Yeah, so there's a water main that goes underneath the property, and there's and there may be a sewer easement, a sewer main as well. So I'm not certain about the sewer, but I know there's a water main that went under that south. Was it the southwest corner?
Yes, there is a sewer main that goes under the southwest corner that connects the sewer from Saddle Road to Santa Fe Trail.
And so those are prescriptive.
Research.
Go ahead.
Yes. As I researched the deed and the previous owners, not the one that I purchased the property from, Mr. Haydad, but actually the owner that he purchased it for, there was an easement. That easement had expired because of the period of time. Again, I just want to say that I think it's unfair that in all of our documentation, this has never come up until right now. And now, I guess I feel like I'm kind of in the corner being asked to accept that as a condition of these applications.
Well, the prescriptive easement exists already, but it wasn't depicted on the plat map as such. And so, if your future plans involve, building a building over the water main, that's going to clearly bring up issues. And so the water main, it's been there a long time. The sewer main as well, and as such, that kind of that creates what's called a prescriptive easement, where that even though it's not depicted on the plat, the city does have the right to maintain and access that sewer main and water main should it burst or should it rupture. So that's really the extent of what a prescriptive easement is there, is that if that sewer or water line needs to be replaced or serviced, then that's where it'll be accessed, is where it's at.
Okay, and so then, I guess as I look at this and I listen to your response, Guy, it appears to me, or it seems to me, that it's a moot point, because what you just told me is the city maintains the right, even though in the narration, and I would tell you that I checked with the legal counsel about this, in fact, it's long expired.
Well, I'm not sure how an easement expires when the water main still exists that the city may need to maintain or service at some point. So that's a legal question that's beyond me. I'm not quite sure how that those two things can both coexist. And I think it's really just because it was one thing that was left off of the plat map. Maybe because of this expiration that you note. But it is important for the city to be able to access and service those lines because they serve more than just your property. Those lines serve the whole neighborhood there. So should they need to be serviced, servicing them is public interest. And in a sense, Scott, it is a moot point because these easements do exist, and we're just asking you to acknowledge that because it's not clearly depicted on the map that was made.
What the city's
Is
trying to
it a requirement or a condition of these applications that I acknowledge this? Because it sounds to me, Sky, what you're saying here is it is in fact a moot point based on the city's opinion. And I'm not really looking for, a definition argument. It's just, again, I'm totally being broadsided here. I didn't know about this.
Well, it depends on what how the commission moves. If they move to approve your application with conditions, then you can acknowledge or not acknowledge the prescriptive easements. And if they move to approve your application without conditions, then that won't be an issue. However, I think it's I'm sorry that I didn't let you know ahead of time so that you could prepare for this and be informed, ready for that. But that is one of the requests from staff, and that's not just me. That's from all of the departments. We looked at your application, and we did see that as a concern that we just wanted that to be acknowledged.
Okay, I guess I would turn this back to the planning board, and I'm not certain how to proceed from here.
The planning board asked you, Scott, if you'd be willing to acknowledge the prescriptive easements that exist on your property, and I'm not sure if we got an answer to that.
Well, I understand that, but here and again, to even acknowledge that as a legal term, I'm not certain as I understand what it is I'm responding to, meaning the magnitude of it.
One of the main problems is
We could table the meeting and not give you the variances. That's an option.
So,
It is.
I mean, the other thing that we could require is that you redraw the plat maps to include the easements on them, and that would make it very clear, and there'd be no need for any sort of extra acknowledgement. Because they are prescriptive easements, they're there whether they're on the plat map or not. But that was one of the shortcomings of the plat map, was that those weren't explicitly depicted, and that could give you, a false impression if you're planning for future development on those areas.
So the problem, Sky, is not only the period of time it's taken me well over 12 months just to get here today to be able to move forward with this. And I can assure you, as I have done previously, it's not because the ball has sat in my court. The second part of it is I already had to redo the plat maps just for administrative errors at a significant expense to me. I would say in order to move forward, I will acknowledge this. I have made my concerns clear, and honestly, I don't believe there's anything else I can do right now other than to acknowledge this to the planning board, that those city has a, I guess, a claim.
We felt that that would be sufficient so that you wouldn't have to go and reprint the plat maps. Thank you.
Also, you gotta realize what we're dealing with here. These not only service you, but they service some more residents in the area. And I can understand your predicament, but you gotta understand that there's gotta be something said, because it's not only you that it affects other people up there.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything else you wanna say?
No, sir, I don't. I'm just respectfully asking for approval on these two points brought forward to the planning board.
I didn't hear that last.
I didn't either. Can you relay your last comment?
What I said was, I'm sorry, I missed the comment.
We didn't get the comment.
Are we good to close the discussion?
From my perspective, yes, sir.
Anyone here or online for or against this particular application sub-plat division? If not, close the hearing. Commissioners, discussion.
Just seems like it's kind of odd for them not to be plotted out then. But they say there is a plotted easement. But they said it was what? It was
Expired.
expired?
Right.
How does an easement get
I
expired?
don't have any idea. That's way before me.
I move that we accept this, his motion with conditions that, of the acknowledgement in the minutes.
I have a motion to accept the plotted subdivision plat with the application shall acknowledge existing prospective utility right-of-ways not specifically shown on the plat map. Do I have a second?
Easement. Easements, not right-of-ways.
What's that?
Easement.
Easement.
Easements.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Romeo,
Yes.
Martorano,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Leone.
Yes. Okay, where's the next one at? Here.
Maybe next time we buy a piece of property, we'll find out what we've got.
Should we have so many things, we don't know what we got. Okay, application for rezoning from medium density residential to community commercial for location of 1986 Santa Fe Trail, Trinidad, Colorado, 81082. Legal description, 24-33-64, part of the Southwest 4, Southwest 4, Southeast 4, continuation of 1.79 acre partial, number 124-25000. Staff.
Let me make sure I'm unmuted. Okay. This application is in conjunction with the previous one. The applicant is applying to rezone the property located at 1986 Santa Fe Trail. This property is currently zoned medium density residential, and the applicant wants to rezone the property as community commercial. The rezoning is not connected at this point with a specific development plan. And it is adjacent to Bomb Pizza. The property to the north of this property is also zoned community commercial. Across the street, the properties are zoned medium density residential. Although there is no specific development plan associated with this, community commercial allows for a number of types of development and land use, which could be complementary both to the existing commercial there. Often when you have multiple commercial enterprises next to each other, they feed into each other, and because there's medium density residential across the street up and down Santa Fe Trail, having more commercial in this area could be beneficial as it gives destinations and amenities to the people living there. And this is in a part of town that's a little bit further away from concentrations of commercial activity. At this point, staff recommends approval of the application.
Open the hearing. Applicant, you can talk again if you want to.
Yes, thank you. Probably the only additional comment to make is it facilitates the opportunity to develop or find funding to develop the property if it's already zoned to meet that financial application. It becomes quite a bit difficult to gather funding for let's say a business project when the property is still zoned residential. That is probably the greatest part of the interest to rezone this now, as well as the city planner mentioned, because the adjoining property that I owned is zoned community commercial, it would be advantageous for both properties to be zoned the same. That's all I have.
Questions?
I like what's going on up there, and I'm in favor of it, so.
Mr.
I don't have
Monroe?
any questions.
That's, we're talking about the same piece of property to the north, right?
Yes. Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Because it's 1986, so we're not talking about, how far down are we talking about? Does it?
What is it, 4 acres?
Yeah.
It's all, but it's all touch, it's all
tiny.
touching.
It's all touching.
It's all touching adjacent to each other.
Altogether, it's a little less than 4 acres, the two properties together. Scott, perhaps you can speak to 1986, what the acreage is on that. I think it's just under 2, if I remember correctly.
And this faces Santa Fe Trail?
Yes.
So I don't see why
That
it
is
should-
very close, Sky, in your definition. It is, my memory says about 1.75. It is actually larger than what is zoned community commercial at 2000 Santa Fe Trail.
Questions?
No, I'm all for it also.
Any staff input? No. Anyone here in the audience or online for or against this particular application? If not, I'll close the hearing. Commissioners, discussion?
Was there any letters go out to the neighbors and stuff like that?
Yeah.
We didn't get no response on that?
Hammer, open for a motion.
I'll move that we go ahead and approve.
Is there any staff recommendations with this?
I don't think so. Is there, Sky?
Staff recommends approval
With no recommendations?
With no conditions?
with no conditions, yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Norris, roll call.
Martirano?
Yes.
Armijo?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, moving on.
Wait,
We eliminated,
we need to circle back around to approving the minutes real quick.
oh, okay. Approval of the minutes of
September
28th.
28th of September.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve them.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made, second, to approve the minutes of September 28th, roll call.
Armijo,
Yes.
Moderano,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Leoni.
Yes.
Thank you.
See, we eliminated E and F. Moving down to new business. Motion to request council vote, or commission vote, to remove council member Tim Dalton. I'd like to bring something forward before we do this. Means that we don't have a full board here tonight. I think it would be not in Mr. Dalton's advantage to do any kind of voting tonight. I'd like to take that to the next meeting, put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And
Do you want to make a motion to move that?
I'd like to have a motion for that.
I'll move.
Motion made by Mr. Marrano, second.
A second.
Second by,
Okay.
roll call. Mr.
Okay.
Armijo, seconded.
Armijo,
Yes.
Moderano,
Yep.
Norris.
Yes.
Leoni.
Yes. Reports. Chairman's report. Probably some of the stuff I'm gonna say ain't gonna be liked, but that's gonna be my report. First of all, I realize we've got some new people. Chris, you're one of them. And some of this stuff we got kinda late. I think I called you on Friday of last week and told you I like to be prepared. And you said, I realize that, and that I'm new, and I realize you are new. But some of this stuff came in late this afternoon. And I usually go through it on a weekend, because I'm working. So on a weekend is when I have my time. And I usually go through on a weekend. I wasn't able to go through all this stuff on a weekend. And I kind of went through it today really half-heartedly. And went through this meeting. And if there's some way that we can get it a little bit sooner, and stuff that's relevant to what we have. I got one report that said 2020. It was listed as September 8th of 2020 in my packet. But anyway, moving on. On the people that are getting this survey, I went through the survey, and I did it. I did some of the survey, and I did most of it. And older people ain't gonna do that survey. Like Mr. Zuich brought up tonight, they're gonna throw that in the trash. That survey was an economical survey to me. And it's not a survey that, I think it should be an independent. It should be an independent survey
I
by
agree.
somebody else.
I agree.
And you'll have your time to talk.
Okay.
And the reason I just told Mr. Moderano, last week I was interrupted a couple of times. I don't like to be interrupted, and I don't like people to interrupt me. And I won't interrupt anybody else. But you got people that could vote from this from out of town. Mr. Zuich brought that up. His daughter in Montana voted on it. How can that be? How can that be a survey that's equal for the citizens of Trinidad? To me, that's not. And to bring this all forward and keep on bringing it up and in such a hurry. Why are we in such a hurry? Why are we in such a hurry to do this? I don't understand why we have a hurry. At least if you had independent, you have maybe a couple months, 2 or 3 months or 4 months or whatever to go through this. To see what the citizens of Trinidad want. If they want it, that's fine. If that's what they want, that's fine. Let's do it. But let's don't just do certain people. There's people that I got 25 people that work for me. And I've been asking them every day. About 50% of them have got the survey so far. Some have not got the survey. And I think there's like 3 rounds or 4 rounds. Maybe it'll come in the next round. But still, That ain't enough time. That's what I, as a chairman, have to say right now. Commissioners,
I totally agree with you, Chairman. I don't know what the hurry is myself. This is almost 2 months now that this has been going on. And I disagree with the type of survey they're making. I think the survey should be independent. I know we would have to pay for it, but I think it'll actually serve the community properly. And we'll let the real survey come out and tell us what the public wants. You know, they're saying that we have to change this 14, the code 14. I don't understand that as well. Okay. This community has been governed by that 14 for many, many years. We're not growing any. Actually, we're decreasing. So what is the real reason for this? Nobody's been able to tell me what the real reason for doing what we're doing. That's all I got to say.
Mr. Emile.
I agree with you 100% that I believe this survey needs to be done by a independent, impartial survey company. I think it's important when changes like these are made, it's not because I want it or somebody else wants it, it's the community as a whole wants it, and it's going to benefit the community. And I feel like survey is not doing that.
I totally agree.
Are you finished?
I'm finished.
Mr. Norris.
I think everybody's getting their drawers all gathered up over nothing really. I mean, coming from the educational world, we constantly had a mission statement, and that's what we worked toward. And you constantly revised the mission statement, but you kept marching and you improved it. It's just minor changes. Nobody wants to totally change all our code. You know, I mean, we're talking about look at it. What's it doing? Is it doing a good job? You know, are there improvements that need to be made? I mean, at this point, it's just totally gathering information. It's nothing. Not even one change has been suggested. And so, you know, I mean, I think most people probably don't care what the code says. Probably the majority don't care. I mean, it's really dry stuff.
You don't know that.
Well,
You can say that for yourself, but you don't know that.
Oh, okay. Well, you were saying 50% of your employees, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think that as we go through this, there's going to be huge demands for change, so I don't.
So you don't think our master plan is a proper master plan?
No, you have a master plan, and you continually, it's just a continual process that you look at how your master plan, how's it going? Do anything we need to change? No, it's going fine, and just keep going. You know, I mean, if we need to change something, then we'll change it. But right now, nothing even's been suggested.
It would be really cool if we could do it that easy. It's not that easy. When you're working with codes in this community and protecting the citizens of this community, it means a lot. And you just don't change because you have an idea that that's the way we're going to go. I mean, when you got a master plan, you go back to the master plan and you get the people there to change that master plan if you need to change it.
And that is where I see us in the process.
We're not in that process.
Okay.
And this, to me, this board is, what is this board?
This board
Planning,
is
zoning, and variance.
Yeah.
And that's why we got variances. You can go back to variances. We've given some. You've been on this board. We've given variances.
No, I understand
And it's
that.
still
And we
under
gave
chapter
some-
14.
We gave some tonight. You know, I mean,
I'm just saying, this was variances.
yeah.
You don't have to
That's
change
why
the
you
code
have
to
a
do it.
variance, to change things. You don't have to change the whole chapter 14. You already got a way to change it. You have a variance.
true, but if it's something that you're, like carports, we have carports in the code with a 612 roof pitch, matching the environment, matching the existing design structure.
Exactly.
Nobody does that.
You have,
And
that's
nobody
why,
does. We approved one today because we approved one today, and with the liability that if the power ever goes out, they've got to, pay to reroute the whole power line. An individual, I mean, I don't know, I mean.
I don't feel like getting information, unbiased information from the citizens is not moving forward. I think that's moving forward with the proper information we need to represent the citizens. And I'm not saying the code shouldn't be changed, because I believe there are some things in the code that probably need to be addressed.
Might need to be addressed.
But move forward with the right information for the people you're representing
Okay.
is what I think.
All right. We're trying to get the information from the people.
yeah, but you don't want to do a blanket. It's all individual, one situation at a time. Just like we did on Strong Street. The guy wanted a setback changed, and we gave him a variance to set it back, okay?
I mean, if you're constantly changing a rule or making an exception for a rule, you should change the rule.
No, not necessarily.
Well, I mean.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna go back to you. Do you have anything else to say?
Okay.
Are you?
No, I'm gonna. Yeah, I disagree. If you constantly
Mr.
are
Arano, you have
changing
anything
the rule,
else?
I'm good.
then change it.
Mr. Amiel?
I'm good.
Okay. Planning director report?
Sky?
Sky?
Yeah, we have one application that got stricken from the agenda tonight because it needs a little bit more time for staff review. I thought I could get that done in a little bit less time than was actually possible, just mostly due to my being new with the city. And I underestimated the review time. So that's coming up. It's an interesting case. They want to rezone into historic preservation from community commercial, and it's this property on Pine in Arizona, and they also want to replat it and break it from one parcel into three. So that's coming up. I'm not sure what else will be on our docket in the next meeting, but that's one of the things that'll be on our docket. And that's all.
Victor? Chris? You have anything?
Your documents will be there next month, I promise.
Okay.
We can't have.
I appreciate you all coming tonight and voicing your opinion. We need that.
There's no more public
You opened up
comments.
a lot of ears tonight. I know you opened up mine.
And I have some more to that, and maybe the
If
next
you want to
meeting.
come back,
the
you're
next
welcome to come
meeting,
back
so-
anytime.
The next meeting or so. Yes.
Okay, Norris, give me a adjournment. Give me a motion.
I'm moving.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Yeah.
Adjourn.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
See you in the morning.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your service. Thanks for being out tonight. See you soon.
Bye.
Well, so you're through.